Morning.
Morning.
Welcome to podcast number 6 with Akashic Resources, where we strive to...
We help people use their minds more productively to be happier, healthier, and more successful.
So today we thought about speaking about peace. It's a big topic right now because there's a lot of the opposite of that, a lot of conflict, a lot of war.
Yeah, we've got the Ukrainian-Russian thing that's been going on for a while, and wars are confusing. I think it's hard to pick sides. There's some issues and stuff, even though that one's a little bit more. But now we've got this Palestinian-Israeli thing, and we're not going to wade into it, but there's truth on both sides to a certain extent of this, and yet we can never condone killing and atrocities and things like that. So with all this war, and then within our own country, we don't have any wars, thank goodness, but there's a lot of gun violence. It's like every week there's another mass killing, there's murder, suicides, there's all this stuff. So we wanted to talk about peace.
Yeah, which would be the opposite of all the things we just talked about. And to me, it's a pretty hot topic because even with the concept of peace, people can at times get upset if you say, oh, just be peaceful or just send love and light. And it's like, there's real people dying, there's real babies dying and all over the world. And like Brian was saying, we're not taking sides or anything like that. The side that I'm on is
peace. Don't kill anybody. That's right. Let's talk about it.
Find a way to not kill anyone ever,
wherever you are, just don't kill anybody.
And in an ideal world, this is in my imagination, really, because it's not in the reality yet, but this is why we're talking about it, is these kind of things can get resolved when you have leaders that practice the principles of mindfulness, practice living from the inside out, practice thinking inclusively, and I think we're getting there, but we're not quite there right now. And it's our job as citizens of the earth to be those examples, so that hopefully that will reverberate to eventually have people in positions of power that can also think that way.
Yeah. So we're going to access a document called the Peace Covenant that was written by the School of Metaphysics. A group of people a while back went to the Parliament of the World's Religions, and they came back to the School of Metaphysics organization, and they crafted this incredible document. You can look it up. It's called the Peace Covenant. And we're going to take some lines of this that are just amazing, and we're going to dive deeper into this whole thing from a personal standpoint. And that's what you'll see reflected here, is that sometimes we feel powerless. It's like, what can I do? And that's what we're gonna go through today, is what can I do? What can I do? So
yes. So I'll read. The document is kind of long, but there's different thoughts and sections. So I'll read some of those sections. We affirm that peace is an idea whose time has come. We call upon humanity to stand united, responding to the need for peace. We call upon each individual to create and foster a personal vision for peace.
Right.
Let's stop there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's bringing it in inside. And we can look out there, and like I said, we can feel powerless because, to a certain extent, we can't change the entire world.
Yeah, we don't have power over the decisions and the thoughts of leaders across the world. And even we don't have power over the feelings of one individual, let alone a whole group of people that think a certain way, that are oppressing other people, and vice versa. We don't have that. But and then you start to feel like, well, then who cares? How can I do anything?
Yeah. You look outside, you feel powerless and apathetic, and then you look inside, and that's where you can take control. And the whole idea that peace is an idea whose time has come. My goodness, if you look at the news, I can't watch television news, but even to read the news is just really anything but peace producing. And yet it talks in this document about we've practiced the ideas of peace, right? So civilization has evolved, hopefully. So we should be in the best position in the history of the world to create peace right now. So again, that responsibility,
It makes me think of something. Is the next line says, we call upon humanity to stand united, responding to the need for peace.
Right.
And this this is true in relationships too. And a lot of times, like when you get a reading, if it's a relationship reading and there's challenge, when I've gone over to people with people, the universal that I've seen is create a vision for the relationship, and both of you work towards that vision. And if you do that, typically the disharmony will change because there's a focus. Or if you think about a corporation, there's a mission and purpose, a vision statement or mission statement, and everyone works towards that mission statement, and it creates cohesiveness. If within a corporation everyone had different missions and purposes, then it'd be chaos, right? So if we look at that from a planetary perspective, if all of us were in agreement that our mission was peace, what would our choices be like?
Right.
From a macro to the microcosm. And again, we can't control other people. And this is where the universal truth or the metaphysics of it comes in. Can I explain so what I'm seeing, or it's not just what I'm seeing, what many people have said for thousands of years is that your thoughts that you think and the things that you do affect you, but they don't just affect you, they affect everyone else, because we're all connected. We're in this quantum field. If you looked at me and Brian if you looked at me on a microscope, you could see that eventually we're connected. We're not separate. It just seems as if we're separate. So if we are connected, the thoughts that I think, the feelings that I have, the actions that I take will inevitably affect him. So if we all focus on peace, mentally, emotionally, physically, what could happen?
What you put your attention on grows. And what's that? The whole butterfly wing effect. There's nothing that happens in isolation.
And I think we shouldn't really say, well, just one little me. Well, what if a million people said that? One little me. That million becomes a large group of people thinking a certain way. And it does start with just one little me.
Well, if you think of the whole world has a vibration, it's a number. And if you raise your vibration by 1, then the world vibration goes up by one, right? And what she's saying is so if 100 people, if 1 million people, if 100 million people raise their vibration ever so slightly, the effect upon the world is amazing. And that's where it starts.
And there's studies, can I say this one last thing? There's studies that have been done on water where people have prayed over water or meditated over the water, and the molecules have changed. So, and if we're made up of water, it makes sense that it would work. So let's go to the next thought, which is kind of connected to what we were just saying. World peace begins within ourselves. Arising from the spirit, peace seeks expression through the mind, heart, and body of each individual. Government and laws cannot heal the heart.
I want to say something. Okay, go ahead.
We must transcend. This is just like, we must transcend whatever separates us. Go ahead.
Well, I just had a thought. So I met this guy one time, and it said it must start in the mind and the heart, and I met this guy at the International Association for the Study of Dreams years ago, and I said, "Where do you live?" And he said something to me that I always remember. He said, "Well, I try to live in my heart most of the time." And I was like, whoa, he just blew me away.
That's beautiful.
Like, and so that thought came to me. But, imagine the peace that we would radiate out if we lived in our hearts all the time. She's getting a little teary-eyed.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thought of that, I think it solves like every problem you could ever have. If you're just always living in your heart, then you're coming from an authentic place.
There's I think the part about
well, I was gonna say something.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say about government and laws cannot heal the heart. So this idea that we do this all the time. Well, the government this and the government could do this, and we kind of put the power outside of ourselves because how we've been raised and trained is, well, the government makes the rules and the laws, and they control everything. So what can I do? But it's not true, because the heart vibrates much higher than any one governmental official. So the changes made in the heart can actually impact the world, maybe even more than a piece of legislation.
Well, I would say that legislation reflects the consciousness of the
people
country
that
or the state. Right, exactly. So if you want to change legislation, let's change the consciousness of the people, and the legislation is automatically going to change. So
were you going to say something?
I was going to go to a certain section here because we were kind of going on to the peace starts within, and so the whole idea is here we go. we call upon each family to
Okay.
generate and nurture peace within the home. So first we generate peace within ourselves, and then that radiates out to our spouse and our relationships, our family. And then if you're creating peace in the family, then that peace radiates. Guess what? So you're at a picnic with other families, and the peace of your family is affecting that picnic, right? With these other,
What
we've
an
got
image to like,
we've got wild
I
kids,
don't know if
so
the piece of
peace,
our family
right,
ever.
right. Well, but that's what
I'm not even talking about the kids. I'm talking about
So-
myself.
so anyway, right. So there's
Work to
always
be
work to
done.
be
There's
done
work to
right
be
here
done,
is
yeah.
what we're saying. And that makes a difference. But so it starts in the family. And then let me just want to read that part because it works so
Yeah.
good.
House worship.
We call upon each nation to encourage and support peace among its citizens. And right now there's starting to be some talk about an international movement, more so to try to figure out this peace in the Israeli-Palestinian, especially the Gaza. There's been some talk in the news about an international type of situation being suggested that might offer some benefits to peace. So again, at the national level, leaders need to step up and offer potential solutions, but it starts with the family. That leader is a leader in their home. And we call upon each leader, be they in their private home, house of worship. So we need religious people to be religious leaders. And sometimes, sometimes in the news, it gets kind of confusing sometimes. In a place of labor. So at work, are you a living example of peace? For only in this way can we expect peace to move across the face of the earth. So this is all about personal responsibility, moment to moment, thought by thought. What can I do to create peace in this moment?
And I think that goes back to, I had this realization, it goes back to the 4 agreements with Don
Miguel
Ruiz. And this, he's got the 4 agreements. The one that I'm still stuck on is not to take things personally, I guess. Yeah. And I was thinking the relationship that I saw like a quote someone had put up too, the relationship I have with myself is a reflection of the relationship that I have with other people. So
and vice versa.
And they're really right. So it's all interconnected. So if I'm experiencing, let's say work is a good example, because many times we have challenges at work, and I'm not experiencing peace with a coworker at work or peace with something that's going on at work. I can blame it on the job. I can blame it on the manager or whatever, or I can look within and understand. And actually I want to share the story that happened.
Yeah.
So I was working, I work at Stryker, and we're doing a very big project, and it's high stress. Even like our main boss was saying, this is the hardest thing you'll do in your whole career. So, oh, cool. That's great. So we all know. And I was working on something, and I had worked on it for like 5 hours, and I'd realized I'd done it wrong. I had to start all over again. And I was speaking to my coworker, and I just started crying because I literally was very upset. And I was starting to blame. I was starting to get into well, they should have given me this, and it's very disorganized. And I kind of said all those things, and she just listened. She received me, and she's like, you need to go take a break, go on a walk. And she was very compassionate, extremely compassionate. And it was very healing because she received me, and it kind of settled in. And I realized, well, I made a choice with this thing that I did, and I could have asked better questions. I have a choice. I have power in this. And then I did experience peace. I could have gotten stuck by blaming those other people.
Right. Yeah.
So that's an example of how you can live and be an example of peace. And it's not that I'm always an example of peace, but that's a way that you can do that.
And Stryker's been a wonderful place to work. There's been a lot of quality people, relationships, a lot of growth and learning. So you can practice this piece all the time. So I used to be a real estate agent in Missouri, and I had a seller, and we showed up at the closing, and the buyers are there with the other agents, and I think there was even a person from the bank there, and we all sit down. And the lady from the title company, we're chatting and then the lady from the title company comes out, and to my seller, she goes, "Oh, is your husband here?" And at that point, I knew we were going to have some problems because she had been divorced for about 3 years. and her husband was not there. In fact, she probably hadn't spoken to him in months, and that was okay between the two of them. And so there was a problem with the paperwork, and it degenerated, and all of these different people were, and they were blaming each other, like you were saying. They were just saying, and I didn't really have anything to say or anyone to blame. And I just sat there very quietly, and all these people were kind of arguing and yelling a little bit around me. And then one by one, they kind of looked at me, and I was just sitting there, and they said, and they just all got quiet, and they said, well, what do you think? And I asked the title, or I asked my seller, I said, can you get the signature this weekend? This was Friday afternoon, 4:30. We're not going to make anything happen. Her ex-husband lived out of town. I said, can you get the signature on this piece of paper this weekend? She said, I'll drive there and get the signature. And I said to the title, I said, do you have an opening on Monday afternoon at 4:30? And she said, yes, I do. And I said, can everybody be here at Monday? And they said, yes. And we all got up and left. And it was really interesting, because one of the few times that I have not spoken and expressed my opinion. And the result was my inner peace. Number one, it was like, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. And so that piece radiated, and it totally affected that situation.
That's really great. And I know there's times where I haven't done that, and I've noticed the results where there's people are already upset, or someone's upset with me, and then I get more upset, and it creates what it does is, and I think this is where if we don't listen to each other, I think there's something on there about pieces built through communication. If we're not able to stop and listen, it's actually funny, when we were going over this to prepare, we experienced something not so peaceful. And we were both getting kind of upset, but we both were able to step a few steps back and receive as much as we could and move forward. And I think when we kind of get stuck is when we get in our egos and we go on the polar, you're wrong, I'm right, or you say whatever it is, and we can't come to the middle because we're not really hearing each other. We're not listening. We might be hearing what they're saying, but are we really receiving it? And that's a mindfulness practice. Meditation is a practice of inward listening, and as you practice meditation, you can take that out into the world.
So so we're saying living peace is active, the motion of silence, of faith, of accord, of service. So using this example, we can say, so we want to move forward. So what can we do? What can we do? So we want to give people homework. We want to get homework ourselves. And so what can we do? Peace is active. So in that situation, we usually don't have to get too far before we're in a situation where one person is starting to get emotional. And if that person's not us, then the opportunity is to stay peaceful. Because when one person starts screaming and yelling and the other person doesn't, this person will empty themselves out and come back down. But if you pour gasoline on the fire, they'll keep burning.
This reminds me of an image, a meme that I saw the other day about what true listening is. And there's someone pouring themselves out, and there's like steam coming out of their head, and they're just, the other person has kind of like a pot. Have you seen that? A flower pot? And the steam is going into the flower pot, and there's a plant growing. And it felt like wow, when you can really receive someone, it's something new can come from that experience.
That's beautiful, beautiful.
There's one thing that this says, I'm going to just read this part. It is not made in documents, but in the minds of hearts. We talked about that with men and women. Peace is built through communication. And I cannot tell you how much just in this week I've realized, if you don't communicate, you're never going to come to that resolution. Now, there is a place, I had a friend that she would just over communicate. So we have to find that balance. But typically, communication that when you're not so emotional, you got to kind of be calm, sharing what's going on in a way that's not blaming, but just
productive,
checking your agreements, checking your assumptions, and just communicating. I have this story about this experience, and I want to share it to understand if that's true. It creates that dialogue. If someone thinks very different from you, having conversations. There's stuff now on the internet where people are doing that, where two very extreme parts of a certain topic, they'll come together and some of them, it doesn't work out, they fight.
Right,
But other times they can understand each other.
No, there's so much opportunity. So if you've got, if you're talking to somebody, it's like preaching to the choir, right? If you agree upon anything, there chances are there might not be a tremendous growth. But when you disagree with someone and you receive different ideas, different input, when you read something that makes you mad, when you look at art that troubles you, there's opportunity for growth in that. And a lot of us, what do? We run the other way, right? I'm going to stay with my own kind. I'm only going to read things that are, supportive of my thoughts. Well, then we don't grow.
And also sometimes we want to be conflict free. So why would I engage in this conflicting experience? I just want peace. I don't know drama, right? But
peace is active.
But peace is active. It's not like peace is not this. It can be, it is meditation too, but it's also what you're doing in the world. And I'll say one thing about that too, is when it comes to, this is interpersonal stuff, but I think interpersonal relationships and harmony within relationships is almost like, the way I see it is personal relationship with self and God, and then relationship with others,
right,
to me is the foundation of creating a world of peace, right? That's the foundation. So everyone has interpersonal stuff that comes up for them. For me personally, I don't know what your experience, I would love to hear your experience. For me personally, when I feel hurt by someone, angered by someone, frustrated, any of those things, I won't immediately go to like, well, what are they thinking? I'll just make up my story and get upset and just, and really what I need to practice and what I think we could practice together is, I wonder why they think that.
Curiosity.
I wonder why this person feels this way. What can I understand about them that can help me understand? I think that it takes it out of the personal. Like,
don't take it personal.
Again, it's not personal. It's something that they're thinking or feeling. And we all so dynamic beings that sometimes I'm surprised because I think a certain way, but not everyone thinks like me. So if I get upset about someone's behavior, if they're not thinking like me, then how can I get upset? If I can understand how they're thinking, I always feel 100 times better. Right. Oh, that's what you were thinking. Right. Okay. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so much of peace is just, think about just increasing the peace in your inner environment, and then just reach out to your, to your living situation, reach out a little bit to your work situation and create peace. So we're newer parents. We've got an almost 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. And with my children, it's really what I've learned. Well, I mean, I've learned so much, but that communication thing is so important. Is, am I understanding you? Am I understanding what your needs are? And as the children become more verbal, it gets easier.
But sometimes you still don't understand.
Right, but when they get emotional, sometimes it's really, really hard. So another thing I figured out is that, when my children get emotional, I really need to stay calm. And that can be a turbulent place because we got a lot of water in our house that's just, and I'm an earth sign, right, with the astrological influences.
Water house.
And I'm learning a lot more about my emotions in this, more emotional state. I lived by myself most of the time. Now I got, 2 kids and a wife. And things get a little bit crazy.
Emotional.
So when there's so much that I can do right now to create more peace in my life that's going to radiate outward. And I think that's our homework for everybody and for ourselves too. And I was talking about this morning, because there's great opportunity for me with the children, with the family right here at home, to just stay calm and ask more questions and to receive more. So that's gonna create the peace, greater peace in my life and in my immediate family.
Which sounds like it's the line that says, living peaceably begins by thinking peacefully.
Excellent.
Can I read this one last line?
Read that. That's a great thing to close on there.
We stand on the threshold of peace-filled understanding. We come together, all of humanity, young and old, of all cultures, from all nations. We vow to stand together as citizens of the earth, knowing that every question has an answer, every issue a resolution. As we stand united in common purpose, we hereby commit ourselves in thought and action, so we might know the power of peace in our lifetimes.
May peace prevail on earth.
May peace prevail on earth. And if you want this document, it's on the som.org.
Yeah, look up
website.
Universal Peace Covenant.
It was written by a group
And,
of students and teachers
wonderful,
at the School of
wonderful thing.
Metaphysics.
So thank you very much. And hopefully you can take something from this and create some peace in your life. And let's see that radiate out through the world. And the next time we have this conversation, let's talk about the wonderful things that happened that we saw in the news. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye.